All right, today we're going to look at section 18.1, which is multiplying polynomial expressions by monomials. So the idea behind this is we're going to multiply two things together that have exponents, and we're going to have to apply some of those exponent rules that we've looked at before. All right, so our first overall explain goal, when we're multiplying, we have to use that product of powers. So a to the m times a to the n equals a to the m plus n power. Essentially what we are doing is we are going to add exponents. All right, when we are multiplying with monomials, we add the exponents together if they have the same base. All right, so example 1. Remember, we're going to treat our front numbers like we normally would. Multiplying 6 times -4 makes -24. All right, now when we look at this x to the third and this x to the fourth, they're the same base. They both have x. So we add exponents. 3 plus 4 is 7. All right, so it's 24x to the 7th power. Okay, when we multiply using exponents, we can add the exponent piece together. All right, example B, 5 times 7 is 35. Treat front numbers like themselves. Then we have an x and we have an x. X times x is, since it's x to the 1 times x to the 1, x to the 1 plus 1, which is x squared. So it's 35x squared. And then y squared times y, we have to take each piece that has the same base and multiply it together. So y squared times y is y to the third. 2 plus 1 is 3. So this one is 35x squared, y to the third. All right, we have our first year term. So what you need to do, multiply front numbers like normal. So the coefficients, you can just multiply together. Then you need to add exponents on like bases. I'm going to pause the video and I'll give you a moment to work through it, and then we'll go over it in a second. Okay, 18 times 3 is 54. Then y squared, and there is a y sixth. So those will go together. 6 plus 2 is 8, so it's y to the 8th. Then we have x to the third and x to the 8th. 8 plus 3 is 11, so it's x to the 11th. And we have z to the 4th and z, so 4 plus 1 is 5, so it's z to the 5th. All right, if you put your variables in a different order, you could have 54x11, y to the 8th, z to the 5th. That part is not as important, but just remember they have to have the same bases. That's why we added the y exponent to the y exponent. All right, next, that's if we just have two monomials. Now if we have a polynomial multiplied by a monomial, we can do the distributive property to figure out what this thing would be simplified. So if we're multiplying these two things together, I'm going to distribute this to each piece that's inside. So you're going to have to do 3 multiplications here. Now notice this has 3 terms, so at the end I should have 3 terms. All right, 3 times 3 is 9. Then x times x squared. At 1 plus 2, it makes it x to the third. All right, then the next part, 3 times 6 is 18. X times x is x squared. And the last part, take that 3x, multiply it by a negative 5. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, so it is negative 15x. All right, we'll look at another example. 2xy times 5x squared y plus 3xy squared plus 7xy. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start, multiply it by the front piece. 2 times 5 is 10. X times x squared is x to the third. And y times y makes it y squared. Distribute it through everything. So 2 times 3 is 6. X times x is x squared. Y times y squared is y to the third. And finally, get it to all three pieces. 2 times 7 is 14. X times x makes it x squared. And y times y makes it y squared. Now, don't try to combine these and add these together because they're not like terms. Here we have an x to the third power y squared. Here we have an x squared y to the third power. Here they're both xy squared. So they're not like terms, so we can't simplify any further. All right, you have another your turn, so I'm going to give you guys a minute to go through it. So pause the video, try it, and then check back in just a second. All right, we're going to distribute this 2a squared. So 2a times 5b squared, 2a squared times 5b squared, 2 times 5 is 10. A squared times b squared, they're not the same base, so they can't combine. We do not add the exponent if they're not the same base. All right, 2a squared times 3ab. 2 times 3 is 6. A squared times a makes it a to the third, and then the b won't change. 2a squared times 6a. 2 times 6 is 12. A squared times a is a to the third. And then finally, to the last one, 2a squared times 1 is 2a squared. All right, you have a assignment going along with this. It will be multiplying a couple of these or a few of these, a couple different types. So get that done and turn it in by next week.